Hey there. This is probably going to be a short one. Just wanted to do a recording because I haven't done one in quite a while. Just didn't want anybody to think I'm dead. Going to do a sort of an overview on astronomy, I guess. Not really an overview, but just sort of a rant I typically do, which my friends are tired of hearing. But this will be kind of the short, quick version. I got too many links, really. It's one of those things. Too many links, it becomes impossible. Well, that's the fact. That's the fact, I guess. The core of my rant basically is, you've heard my many criticisms of conventional science, conventional, the idea or the culture or the what people think is science anyway. Astronomy is just where it kind of breaks down, I guess. Again, like science is great, blah, blah, blah. And, pretty much everything we're doing with materials, science, and all the rest of the more down-to-earth stuff is, obviously perfectly valid because we can make actual stuff with it. But astronomy and cosmology and all that, I guess, again, I'm a person who studies anomalies. I find the things that don't make sense, which is the complete opposite of what most people are looking for what makes sense so they can make a buck off of it. I happen to have the unfortunate nature of wanting to do the exact opposite because there's no money in finding out things that don't work. Anyway, but if you're really examining, the edifice of conventional reality, or why do I have such a hard time? Must be the camera again. My word structure. Normally I have a whole prepared rant, but for some reason when I'm doing this, it just completely goes to hell. Anyway, people's conventional, again, people tend to think that we know everything, and that there's science has discovered it all, and there's just a little bit left to be discovered, blah 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 blah, which is just complete bunk. And again, the point is, you study astronomy, just again, what's on Wikipedia, i.e. just scratching the surface, a summary, and you won't quickly get because that's the thing, you really do have to know a fair bit about a fair bit of things. I had to do a lot of studying. The conventional picture of comets is completely wrong. And I don't mean like wrong as in I know what's right or whatever. I just mean it's complete bunk. When you read about what they say and what they've actually observed, and then you read the press release and whatever, and you're like, what is this? This makes no sense. And again, it's many things like. Comets just being an example. Again, I'm just going to summarize this because it'll take entirely too long. But I've just recently, there's a classic graphic that's has been posted a million times on the web, but it's great because it basically just starts at the solar system and just keeps going out. And the thing is, I never really fully appreciated it before. I just thought, wow, that's cool. There's these really large suns and so on and so on. But I was finally like, wait a minute. This doesn't make sense. Because the conventional thing about stars, suns, is pretty damn simple. There's white dwarfs, there's main sequence stars, there's red giants, blah, 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 blah. No problem. That's sort of your junior high kind of picture of science. Oh, yes, we know all about how suns are. If you actually look at what we know, I guess, again, modern instruments really help, like modern instruments, like the last 10 or 20 years. There's one sun, like they're red hypergiants. They're so large that our sun, which is, of course, colossal, in terms of compared to a person or whatever, compared to Earth, it's so colossal that our sun is like a speck of dust. And I'm not talking a normal red giant. Red giant's bigger than our sun. Great, cool. It's big. I'm talking this thing is like your ordinary red giant, is like, again, like a mosquito compared to this thing. It's so fucking colossally big. And the mass of it can't even be estimated. It's so freaking huge. It just keeps on going. It's like, it's absurd. Like the sizes of some objects out there, there are comet-like objects that are like a light year wide and 100,000 light years long, and there's shitloads of them just flying in formation through the universe. Like, they're just lifeless structures, apparently. But they're just absurdly colossal. Like, again, like most people aren't aware really of that kind of thing. They just know that, yes, space is vast, and they've seen a few pictures. But again, if you really get into it, and my point though is that most of these things, if you delve into it and you go into the fine print, you find out that most of them are completely impossible based on the simple ass, equations and whatnot we have about gravity and about how things form. We don't even know how our sun works at all. Like, none. Most of the theory about our conventional sun that's up there is complete nonsense. It's none of it is proven. It's all conjecture, which is just. And every time we get better instruments, most of what gets brought back is completely anomalous. By which I mean, none of the current theories agree with it. It's just like, what? What is this? It's like, scientists were so very surprised, and that's cool and all. I'm not saying they shouldn't be, but I just mean, we don't have any effective theories about most of it. Most of it is bunk. All our theories about comets currently are bunk. Our theories about how the planets work are bunk. Most of the planets radiate more energy than they get from the sun. We don't know where that energy comes from. They always just say gravity, which is, again, bunk. If it was just gravity, it would be, well, you just estimate the mass of the planet, and it, squeezes so hard, and you get energy. And it's like, sometimes they have ridiculous explanations like, it's energy left over from the formation of, when it was made, like Jupiter or something. Really, so it's still radiating excess energy, like in the quadrillions of just colossal amounts, like now, an unbelievably long period later. I mean, it makes no sense. It would have stabilized. Pluto, which is so far out there, it's a freaking ice ball, like a super ice ball, like a little bit above, absolute zero. And I know it does come in a little closer to the sun, but not very much. It gets a tiny amount of radiation, and most of it even bounces off because it's ice and it's shiny. But they found that its surface totally frigging changed over a couple years of observation. Where did that energy come from? We don't know. There's no, again, conventional theory completely falls down. So we don't understand planets. We don't understand suns. We don't understand comets, asteroids, none of it. It's all, again, all the stuff, the conventional, the stuff you read in your high school textbook has basically been proven to be complete and utter nonsense by everything we've observed in the last 20 years. And again, I just find it's funny that most people, I guess, don't know that, or they just sort of think, oh, we found a few new things. No, like, none of it, like, almost zero is explained or explainable at this point. Jupiter just lost a stripe. It lost an entire, like, gigantic band. Who the hell knows how that happens? Saturn has a giant hexagon at one end, and they sort of shown that that can happen with fluid mechanics and everything, but it's still weird. And there's energy shooting out of both poles in most planets, actually. Just completely bizarre stuff. Wow, geez, that didn't take long. Again, like I said, 10 minutes. 10 minutes is nothing. Oh. Yeah, white dwarf system exceeds mass limit. That's why they've had to invent, maybe I'll go on for 20, but that's why they've had to invent dark matter, for one thing, is that pretty much everything we've observed is too large, again, and spins too fast, and various things, according to the amount of matter that we're observing. The galactic center, there's another interesting anomaly. The galactic center is surrounded by a huge cloud of antimatter. We don't know where that comes from. It's just there. Pure antimatter, just a massive amount of it. Completely anomalous. Space is basically, at this point, I think it's totally cool to me. I used to think, oh yeah, again, we just,